Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there, this is Ben Dickerson, your co-host. As you can see, I've finally broken out some of my Giants gear, getting really close to training camp. So I'm beginning to feel it. I was trying to refrain, but I noticed that the gym, a lot of Eagles fans are starting to break their stuff out too. So, I had to remind them where I'm from.
I see with the red and the blue. The red and the blue. All right. Hey, Benny. Gonna have a fun show today. We are going to do our continuing series on the best job in the NFL, backup quarterback. You gotta love them, man. You gotta love a backup quarterback.
This is a little bit more fun talking about than I thought it would be.
Oh, hey, I was a backup quarterback at one time,
Oh, God.
Yeah, fifth grade.
Can't imagine.
I was in fifth grade. I was a backup quarterback, And this is a funny thing. This was a K to 8. So the starting quarterback, I think, was probably like a 7th or 8th grader. So if I'm in fifth grade, I'm like really, behind those guys. How I got to be backup quarterback, I have no clue. Okay. But I do remember that the starting quarterback got hurt and they sent me in there and I'm calling the play. I called the play and everybody's like, we ain't running that. Nah. It was like a mutiny in the huddle. I'm like,
wait. You decided on your own on this play?
I don't know.
Coach didn't send in the play.
How many years ago for me was fifth grade? I was 10 years old. I'm 68 now.
Well, they weren't going to refuse to run a play that the coach sent in.
I don't know, but they wasn't taking it from me. That's for sure. Next thing I know is, Mitchell, come on back over. I think the guy probably hobbled out there on one leg or something.
That reminds me, I didn't think I had any stories to tell, but I do remember when I was at Germantown, was on the JV, and the coach asked me if I wanted to play quarterback, if I wanted to try out for quarterback. And I told him no, I was a running back.
Oh, you did the same thing. I was gonna,
but he said, you know what it was? I was pretty smart. I was like a AB student in high school. I was a smart kid. I knew all the plays. I learned the plays really fast. I think that's what kind of caught his eye. So then he's like, well, I want you to try it. So I told him I can't throw. He says, don't worry about it. We're a running team. You won't have to throw. So I called plays. I took snaps, like handoffs, pitch outs was good. I was good. We got in a situation where I had to throw. It was something simple. It was like an out or a slant or something. And I threw it in the dirt. And he said, not only can you not throw, you stink. Like get out.
You lost your quarterback job just like that, eh?
I told him I couldn't throw.
Was this in a game that he saw this?
No, it was a scrimmage.
But you hadn't practiced it?
Yeah. Practice throwing?
Yeah.
Yeah, before we start, I played catch with somebody.
I'm talking about that the coach was looking at you. He should have some idea how bad you stunk before you.
No. He did. When I told him I couldn't throw, he didn't say, here, throw it back to me or something. You know what I'm saying? Or play catch with this guy. Let me watch you. He wasn't thinking about throwing the ball. And we really didn't hardly ever throw the ball.
Third and 13.
Yeah, very seldom. We only threw the ball when we had to. And if we had to, it probably wasn't successful. So
probably.
You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And look, you, me, Christopher, our heroes were probably all running backs. I know
why they asked Chris
the same hero. So
I know why they asked Chris the quarterback. That was easy. He was the best athlete on the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why they want him to quarterback.
Yeah. Only thing I wish is that they had kept his special team stats. So like,
right.
when they'll say rushing, whatever, they'll say all round stats sometimes where
Right.
they'll include all that other stuff,
Right.
So yeah, he never got credit statistically for any return punts, return kickoffs. We got the one on the ABC News. They had that little Friday night roundup.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Remember that in the high school games? He took that jam to the house.
Yeah.
So much fun, much fun. All right, Benny. So let's get ready with our first team in the NFC North. We're looking at the Chicago Bears starting quarterback, Mr. Justin Fields. Remember when he was coming out and there was so much discussion about him? They had a lot of questions as I remember it. And what was it? It was the same year that the quarterback for the Jaguars came out, right?
Trevor Lawrence.
There
was the question as to which one should be the unquestioned number one.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I saw enough from him to think that he should have been it,
He played really well in some really big games in college.
Yeah. Well, his career earnings so far, he's pretty much only got a year or two under his belt, 11.7 million plus, which is his average right now. Potential earnings of 18.8 million plus, with that amount, 18,871,952 in total guarantees. Now, rough season last year, but he wound up with 7 interceptions to 10 touchdowns. And going forward, he has an injury probability of 13%, which I thought was an interesting number, 13%. So that's your starter. That's who's leading the charge in Chicago. And backing him up will be Trevor Siemian. So before we go any further, did you have anything you wanted to say more about Justin Fields?
Not really. He's the starter. They obviously have determined that the first round pick that they spent on him, they're going to make sure that it's worth it. And he's their quarterback of the future, and they're going to do everything they can to build a team around him. So I have no problem with that. They felt strongly about him enough to pick him in with a number 1 pick. And they put him out there last year. He did sustain an injury, but he did show some upside also.
Yeah, that one run against my Niners, he turned that thing up, man. Everybody turned, he was gone. So, yeah. So here we have Trevor Siemian. Career earnings, $7,717,681. 7.7 million, averaging 1.1 million plus. He's 31 years old. And so he came in as a free agent. He has accrued seasons 6. A little taller than some of the other backups that we've talked about. At 6'3", 215 is his weight coming out of Northwestern. Came in 2015 in the 7th round, number 250 overall. He was close to being Mr. Insignificant?
Mr. Irrelevant?
Mr. Irrelevant. He was close. 27 interceptions, 41 touchdowns. He's got an injury probability of 29.9%. I read a few things about him, and they seem to think that he can run that offense, that he has a good idea of the concepts behind this offense, and he might actually be able to help Justin Fields with that also.
Well, if in fact that's true, then that's a good thing. He spent some time with Denver. He actually at one point had an opportunity to be the starter in Denver, but that didn't exactly work out for him. He really didn't play well enough to tell you the truth. And on top of that, he sustained some injuries also. So since then, he's been a backup. He spent a year with the Jets, backing up the young fella there, what's his name, Zach Wilson. So he's pretty much locked in as a backup at this point. Now, it will do him some good if, in fact, he is familiar with this offense. But I believe while he was with the Jets and then that year he spent while he was with Denver, and the year he spent with the Jets has allowed him to be with a couple of different offensive coordinators and have to learn a couple different systems. So evidently he did well enough with that. Excuse me, that the Bears felt strongly that he could come in and do. Bears have a new coaching staff, if I remember correctly. So I guess they saw something in him, or they know he's been around some people that make them feel comfortable.
Broncos. I think one of the coaches, like maybe it's offensive coordinators from the Broncos.
Okay, well there you have it then.
Yeah.
So there's some, yeah, right. So there's some trust there, and so that's a good thing. And if in fact that works out for them, then that makes him a good backup for this job.
Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, backup quarterback, averaging 1.1 million per year. Nice long career so far.
And he's had to earn his money. He's had several shots where he's had to start games. So,
yeah. Well, he's and you know, that gives him that longevity.
right.
You know, when you can come in, you know. So, like you said, fantastic. Trevor Siemian. Next up, the Detroit Lions.
You know what? One more thing I just remembered about Trevor Siemian. I'm sorry.
That?
I want to give everybody all the credit that they're due. Okay. Last year, New Orleans Saints, he was on that team. Remember all the mess about whether Jameis should start or whether they should go with Tyson?
Right.
Siemian actually snuck a game or two in there in between. Yeah, they were a mess quarterback wise last year. They couldn't figure out what the heck they were going to do, and he was able to slip in there a little bit. So he was a bit of an insurance policy for them, I think, during their indecisiveness.
Okay, so that's the Broncos, the
1 year with the Jets, 1 year with the Jets, and then the Saints last season.
Okay, all right, there you go. All right, well, up next, we have the Detroit Lions led by one Jared Goff. Mr. Goff has career earnings of $108.8 plus million, averaging $18.1 million with a potential earnings of $184.8 million. He actually, let me see here, 63 interceptions to 126 touchdowns. That's twice, right? So we're looking for 3 times. He's at 2 times with an injury probability of 45%. So his backup might see some action. What do you think about Mr. Goff?
Well, Jared Goff is one of those quarterbacks that's kind of on the edge of being really good to middling, and with a high injury probability in a position to lose his job at any moment. But he won't lose his job to this particular backup. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Backup that you're talking about? Let's see. David Blau. Let me see.
He's David Blau?
Huh?
You sure it's David Blau?
Why do you say that?
Because I think it's Tim Boyle.
You think it's Tim Boyle?
Yeah, I could be wrong. Maybe you have more current information than I have. It's possible they're both on the team.
This is the thing, and we're talking about the Lions, and so I'll take a quick look while we're here. But you know, the NFL won't. They don't give out any roster information.
Okay.
So what happens is you go to the next one, which is ESPN, and ESPN has their depth chart, and at quarterback they have second David Blau and third Tim Boyle.
Okay.
So that's how we went with that. But if you have something on Tim Boyle, let's say, throw it in here, because like you said, sometimes the second and the third string have to battle it out for that, for that position.
Okay, so both of them have been around for a couple of years. neither one has made a whole lot of noise when given an opportunity to actually play. They're both obviously serviceable backups because they've been able to hang around a little bit. I kind of like Tim Boyle. I'm pretty sure I remember when Goff got hurt last year, it was Boyle that they went with. There's a possibility that Blau wasn't active at the time. I don't know. But when Goff went down, Boyle backed him up last season. That's why I kind of assumed he would be the guy. But even if it's up in the air, if they're both on the roster, I mean, neither one brings a whole lot to the table except for the fact that they've got experience. And they've both been on the team for more than a year, which means they know the system and they know the coaches and all that.
Okay. Okay.
Nothing too much to brag about here, though, folks. I'm sorry.
Well, there might not be a lot to brag about football-wise, man. But in 3 seasons, Mr. Blau's made $1.9 million.
Okay.
That's why this is such a great job. He's averaging $646,000 a year. So you might not be impressed. Hey, we're back to that 6 foot weight height again. Weight 205, coming out of Purdue, an undrafted free agent to the Browns. 7 INTs, 4 touchdowns. Interestingly, when I looked up Mr. Boyle,
Boyle's been around a little bit longer than Blau, maybe. What, Blau's got 3 seasons, Boyle's got 3 or 4.
Yeah. I was looking at Boyle's stats, and I see career-wise 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Yeah. But interestingly, what I was trying to see, it seems as if they played Green Bay last year, and they have this listed under his statistic.
Okay.
Oh, Rodgers sat the second half. It looked like they beat Green Bay last year.
Oh, that was late in the season.
Okay. Yeah. And so he played. So you can kind of say he beat the Packers, didn't necessarily beat Rodgers because they say Rodgers sat the second half of that game. What week was that? Okay. At that point, the Packers were 13-4. That's 17 right there. 6-4 away. Okay, I guess that was their total, 13-4, and Lions were 3-13-1. So, okay. There's your Lions. David Blau, 1.9 million. And Ben's unimpressed. I'm impressed by $646,000 a year. That's what impresses me.
Well, I have to be impressed with the money because if they feel like he's worth paying, they're not keeping him around for nothing. You know what I mean?
The next guy, Ben, needs no introduction. Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, AR, Ben. Look at that star. The only player in NFL history with over 300 passing touchdowns and under 100 interceptions. Career earnings, $305,492,206, averaging 17.9 plus million per year. Potential earnings of 451 million plus, with 258 plus of that guaranteed. And it's funny because they said the only guy with over 300 and under 100. In actuality, he had over 400. He had 449 touchdowns, 93 interceptions.
That's extremely impressive. That's stellar.
That's standard setting. When Charles Davis said on my Madden program 3-1, he must have been thinking about Mr. Rodgers, because we haven't run across a lot of 3-1s in the league at this point, but I'm sure they're looking at history. 14% injury probability, age 39, 6'2". So he's not super tall, but he's got good height, 225. coming out of California. He was the number 24 pick in the first round overall in 2005.
Yeah, every
There's
year,
stories about the guys who went before him.
every year during the draft, they show replays of him sitting in the green room, sweating because he didn't get chosen as soon as they thought he would. He really thought he was going to get picked a lot sooner. He did get picked in the first round, but it was number 24 overall, and he was sweating it out.
How long did he sit behind Favre?
I want to say, I'm not good with this. I want to say 3 years.
I'm thinking you're about right. And the reason I mention is because in the back of my mind, we're going to talk about Trey Lance a little later in the show. I just want Trey to know you can sit 3 years and look at the kind of money he's making. Look at the excellence level that he can play at. If you can grow into anything near that in that time on the bench, you can be patient, with the team and be patient with yourself. I mean, he's standard setting. So, all right. Now, all that being said, 449 touchdowns, 93 interceptions. His backup is Jordan Love. And look at you shaking your head left and right. Such negativity already oozing out of him. All right, let me do his career earnings. 8.3 plus million career, averaging 4.1 million per year. He only got a couple years under his belt. He's 24. Talk about your 3-year on the bench tradition right there going on. He could be in that. He'll be 3 years on the bench if they keep him for this coming season, right? He has 2 seasons under his belt. He's 6'4", 225 out of Utah State. Came in the 2020 draft, first round, number 26 overall. Wait a minute. What was Rodgers? We just said
24th overall.
Right in that same area. Now, his touchdown and interception, he's got 3 interceptions, 4 touchdowns. He didn't play that much, injury probability of 10%. But averaging 4.1 million per year, not bad for a young fella who's coming in the league, backing up one of the great QBs of all time. What do you think about Mr. Love? And I might have to plug my ears because I fear what you're going to say.
Well, there's a big difference between this guy being the 26th overall pick in the first round of his draft and Aaron Rodgers being the 24th overall pick in the first round of his draft. Number one, Aaron Rodgers was expected to be a star. He was drafted to be the quarterback of the future. Brett Favre just kept on playing well and just kept on playing well and kept on playing well to the point where they felt pressure to have to get Rodgers on the field because he looked so good in practice. He looked so good in preseason. He looked so good in all the snaps that he took, no matter what, that they knew the move had to be made. And they didn't want to wait around until Favre fell off a cliff. So that I think part of that is what kind of got him out of there. The difference now is Jordan Love hasn't shown any of that. Jordan Love rarely gets talked about as doing anything, well or not well. Jordan Love has not shown any great ability to be ready to start an NFL game for the Green Bay Packers, either in preseason or in camp. Now, this camp is getting ready to start, so we'll see what the reports are coming out of this particular training camp. But in the past, he hasn't shown anybody anything. In fact, when Rodgers was threatening to want to be traded, there was some panic setting in. I definitely know there was panic with the fans. And there seemed to be panic with the front office up there too, because they knew Jordan Love was not ready. So
Okay. All right. Now, the only thing in my mind, and I understand what you're saying, but I'm just wondering with my Niners, and we're going to talk again, we're going to talk a little bit about Trey Lance. I believe that they are like the military in terms of not letting information out. You don't know if these guys are doing good or doing bad. It's hard.
Really, they're not though. There's leaks. There's leaks all over the place, bro. In the NFL.
There's leaks, but you also have some differences of opinion. I don't know if you have any differences of opinion with Jordan Love. I don't know if I've
That's what I'm saying. I don't hear nothing positive. At least some of these guys, you hear some positive, some negative, you're not sure. I haven't heard hardly any positives about Jordan Love.
All right. Well, backing up Aaron Rodgers, those are tremendous shoes to fill. We'll keep an eye on Mr. Love. And like you said, we got preseason coming up. We might see him in 2.7 games. So there we go. All right, next up. Oh, Benny, don't you love him? It's Mr. Kirk Cousins, one of my favorites. Career earnings, 186.4 plus $1 million, averaging $18.6 million with potential of 231 plus $1 million. Total guarantees, 224 plus $1 million. 91 interceptions to 223 touchdowns. So that's a little under the 3-to-1 standard there.
Just a little bit though, right?
It's actually closer to 2-to-1.
Okay.
You know, look at that injury probability. That's what you said about him.
He doesn't get hurt.
You don't get hurt.
His best ability is availability.
Yeah, well, that's his best ability, I'm sure of it. But you got to be proud of a guy who's able to make that much money. He hasn't won squat. However,
there's a lot of people like that, bro. You just like to pick on him.
I like to pick on him. Yes, I do. Especially because he's able to do it, and he probably has only, of that $469,288 that he earned, he probably spent $288. That's about it. In his time. The other 186.4 million is sitting there.
Well, that would make him smart too, on top of that.
That's my man. That's what I'm telling you. There's a reason why I mess with Kirk Cousins all the time. But backing him up was a guy that they said out Kirk Cousins, Mr. Sean Mannion. Career earnings $6.2 million, but let's say averaging $886,000 a year. He's 30 years old. He's got 7 seasons under his belt. Good height, 6'5", 229. Came in 2015 in the 3rd round, number 89 overall to the Rams. He's got the inverted stat where you have 3 interceptions to 1 touchdown. And he hasn't played enough to even have an injury probability.
Right. Now, when you say this is the greatest job in the NFL, excuse me, when you say this is the greatest job in the NFL, if you look it up, his picture is there.
His picture is
with that smile. Okay. This guy's been around for 7 seasons and has barely had to play. Barely. And on top of that, he has a Super Bowl ring.
Oh, yes. With who?
2018 with the Rams.
Okie dokie.
He backed up Goff. They lost. I'm sorry, he doesn't have a ring. He has a Super Bowl appearance. He was in a Super Bowl.
Okay.
They lost that Super Bowl. My bad.
Okay.
Yeah, he backed up Goff. So, yeah, he's been with the Vikings since 2019, so he's got a couple seasons there. But I believe they've got a big turnover in their coaching staff also. So The best he can do for a guy like Kirk Cousins is just stay healthy and be available and help him do his homework and his game planning during the week. That's about it. Can't teach him how to be a pro.
Kirk Cousins has highly complimented the benefits that Sean Mannion brings to him in helping him prepare.
Yeah, and that's what he's there for. He's not there for much else. Believe me. Cousins doesn't get hurt, and even if he does, Mannion is probably going to come in and do basically what Cousins can do. Physically, I don't know that he's going to, be a mirror image. I personally think Kirk Cousins is a really good quarterback. Not great, really good. But especially for the team that he's on and the talent that he has around him. But yeah, Cousins has been around long enough. He doesn't need anybody to teach him how to be a pro. He doesn't need anybody to hold his hand. You know what I mean? He just needs somebody to sit down next to him after the end of each series and tell him what he thought went good and what he thought went bad. That's all he needs.
All right. Well, if you can make $886,000
doing that, exactly.
That's a heck of a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Sean Mannion. Mama, raise your sons to be a backup quarterback. All right. So, Benny, Trevor Siemian, David Blau, Jordan Love, and Sean Mannion. Your starting quarterback just went down for the season. Which backup from the NFC North is your replacement choice?
This is horrible. This is not as nice a collection as some of the other divisions we've already looked at. That's for sure.
I actually thought your choice would be quick.
Did you?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Well, the only reason it's not quick is because there's only really, oh God. All right, first of all, the only teams that have a chance of making any type of a playoff run of these four would be the Packers with Jordan Love and the Vikings with Mannion. The Lions aren't going anywhere, and I don't think the Bears are going anywhere, at least not this season. They're kind of rebuilding. If Aaron Rodgers was to go down, the Packers would be in trouble. They would be in serious trouble. They could probably pretty much call their run to an end. However, if Kirk Cousins was to go down, I think Sean Mannion could carry the load at least for a week or two. I would have to say the team that's in the best shape is the Vikings.
The Vikings. Now you approach the question.
But as far as physical ability is concerned, then I would go with the Bears and I would go with Siemian.
Okay, that's what I thought you were going to go with in the first place.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Just if you
as far as the guy being able to capably take over, I go with Siemian. Yes, but you threw that thing about what do you do if you're making a run. So I have to take that into consideration, and in that case, I would have to go Mannion.
Okay. All right. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I was with. I assume your choice would be Siemian all along, just because of all of the things like you said, learning new systems and all of that kind of stuff. We're going to be. I'm going to throw one of those articles I've been saying about some of the systems that these guys are running, and I think the approach and the names of these things aren't as identifiable and simple as they used to be back in my day when we were just talking about the West Coast. Right. Most of them didn't even have a name that I knew of. But now these guys have some names for these systems. We're going to put that in there. All right. So those are your NFC North participants for the best job in the NFL. We're talking about Trevor Siemian, David Blau, Jordan Love, and Sean Mannion. Congratulations to all you guys on having a great NFL career as a backup. All right, Benny. Okay, Benny. So in this portion of the show, we're going to go back to our Facebook page to Ben and Barry on football. I keep wanting to say Ben and Barry on Facebook, but it's Ben and Barry on football on Facebook, and talk about some of the current events that are happening that we shared on our page. Okay, Benny. So the first thing I want to mention that we have on our page is a congratulations that goes out to Sandra Douglas Morgan. Sandra Douglas Morgan, the first Black woman president in NFL history. Now, Benny, this young lady here is a bit special. First of all, she's an attorney. And you know, it's funny. You think about being an attorney, a lot of times you don't think that you're going to wind up the president of an NFL franchise. You know what I mean? You're thinking attorney, you're thinking I'm going to be in the court, you know, practicing.
Yeah, I don't think that was on her bucket list, but
well, you know, as an attorney, it gets you into a lot of jobs that you might not think about. Okay, let's look, start it here. She is the first person of color to chair the Nevada Gaming Control Board.
That's big.
Okay. The third woman and third Black person to become president of an NFL team. Let's see here. She spent 8 years with the city of North Las Vegas, was also the first Black city attorney in the state of Nevada, where she served in that role from 2013 to 2016. So she represented the city of Nevada. So yeah, she's
been there longer than the team has.
Yeah, she's a Las Vegas person. You know, that's her thing. So congratulations to her. Anything else you want to mention on that?
No, I think that's great, man.
Yeah, man. That was amazing to see. Okay, let's roll on up, Benny. You know, I always say you can't talk.
Oh, look at this.
Talk football without talking about the Niners. You know, Trent Williams. It's funny. Once you realize, you know, who he is, you want to run to his side like all the time. But I'm playing Madden, you know. And now that he has a 99, holy mackerel, you know. And then sometimes you want to try to match him up against some people. But to join that 99 club, that's big, especially in the offseason. So I guess they looked at his body of work last season and said, okay, we have to raise his value. I know he was in the 90s, but he wasn't 99.
Is there so I would have to assume, since in real life he's considered one of the best, if not the best, offensive lineman right now, there can only be a couple of other guys that are in the 90s. Would that be safe to say?
Across positions, that's safe to say, much less at
No, I'm talking about offensive line alone.
Yeah, there's very few. I mean, he might be the one. There might be one or two other ones. Yeah, you don't get a 99 at any position easily. That's why they send you like golden cleats.
Right. But I'm saying like is there anybody that's like 96, 98?
Oh, you're asking me? I don't have the list in front of me. And also, you know, I talked about the NFL not putting out a depth chart at this point. There's no depth chart. Well, EA Sports does the same thing. I guess they're drawing from the NFL. So there's no depth chart. Like when I go to EA Sports,
you have to look at each individual guy.
Right. Remember, we used to do the comparisons. We would bring everything up. There's nothing there now if we look at.
I got you.
So they're just releasing stuff as they want. So speaking of Madden, you know, I told you I was going to start playing more live games, and I am let's see, 1-2. I've only played like 3 games. I'm 1-2. A lot of these guys, man, I'm looking at the numbers of games that they played. I guess the numbers of games that I played against the computer might match, but the number of games that I've played compared to the number of games that they've played online, I mean, they've played thousands. I've played like less than a handful. So
Right.
it's really a learning experience. It's humbling. Okay. I lost the game to the Chief guy playing with the Chiefs, right? Couple really like crucial plays. And I just lost the game to the Washington Redskins. And
Commanders.
huh?
Commanders.
Man, did I say Redskins? Yes, I did. The team that needed to change their name, and they did, to the Washington Commanders. Yes, they did. I apologize to the indigenous family.
So you lost to Carson Wentz?
No, he's not there yet. I lost.
To Heineken?
No, I lost to Fitz Magic.
Oh. Well, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
That's not as bad as losing to Heineken. Wow.
But you know something? Remember I told you I had to like kind of get my defensive act together? So in that game, literally, I held them to 2 touchdowns, but I gave up 2 interceptions, 2 pick sixes. And what made it so bad, Benny? I gave up 1 or 2, I think, in the same quarter, because I had to press. I literally held the ball the entire 3rd quarter, driving. I get down in the red zone, and let me tell you something. Kirk Cousins has nothing on me when it comes to mind farts. That was a mind fart extraordinaire. But again, you get used to, what you can do online and how things move and the timing and stuff like that. So the red zone, that becomes even that much more. And I learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot in that. And I tell you the one.
Who's your best red zone target?
Huh?
Who's your best red zone target?
It'll be Kittle, okay, and then it's Debo. And then
Wrong.
And then it's the running back.
Wrong. Start using Ayuk and come back and tell me about it.
Ayuk is always a part, but Kittle is, again, you're talking about who's rated who does what. Remember you were saying how Ayuk had to get his act together and everything? Ratings-wise, he's still doing that on the game. Now, in the upcoming season, he should be improved just like Trent Williams.
The ratings are behind what they've done already physically.
But they're not doing any updates right now. So, in playing right now, it is what it, what
I'm telling you, he's the guy.
Yeah. So, but that's cool. That's cool. I understand what you're saying. I told you before I liked Ayuk early on, so the one thing I know that I had to that I have to work on is simply my pocket discipline. Pocket discipline. I had a couple things that happened, and it's so funny. I get used to playing in a certain way, so I'm used to kicking off. As I told you, that's my preferred manner. Didn't kick off in this game. Apparently, that went to the other guy, and it completely disoriented me. When I looked up at halftime, I'm so used to receiving the ball. I'm like, shit, I'm down like a touchdown or 2, and I got to kick the ball off. So that was a tough game. But hey, I commend my competition for being somewhat competent, and able to play even with the Commanders. And let me tell you something. You can't forget Mr. Young on that defensive line for the Commanders. He might be on a 99. He might be in a 99 club, if not soon himself. In terms of what you got to deal with. Because I remember one time I, stupidly rolled to that side, and it was a mistake, big time. So yeah, great games. Having some fun. Get real juice. Congratulations to Trent Williams on joining the 99 club. And believe me, I'll be looking to run behind that guy in the upcoming Madden 23 series. All right. Speaking of the Niners, we talked about Trey Young, and we said we would have a little bit of fun with this one. So apparently Colin Coward and Mike Silver both reported that Trey Lance suffered from arm fatigue in practice. And there's been some questions of almost like the Jordan Love situation, and where there was some questions about how well he was doing. Now, again, the Niners treat things like military secrets. So yeah, things might be slipping out, but you can't, you and I just can't look and see what's going on. We don't get that visual. So if a Mike Silver or somebody was able to attend practice, but when I thought about it, I'm like, he with his starting time amount in college, then not having, been a starter for his first year, and then coming in and with Garoppolo down, he's taking all of the snaps. And if he's taking all of the snaps, I'm sure the run pass percentage is probably, skewing to the pass. So he's throwing a lot of passes.
Please don't tell me you're trying to make an excuse for him saying he's getting all the number one snaps and he's throwing the ball a lot and that's causing arm fatigue.
I'm saying he might. I'm saying it might. It's a possibility, but I don't think it's a problem.
Please don't tell me that.
Again, I don't even know if that's true.
There's 31 starting quarterbacks. None of them are suffering from arm fatigue.
Well, they were starters. He hasn't been a starter.
So his arm should be fresh.
Fresh is one thing. There's enough that's a level of work that he might have to pick up on.
Oh my God.
We'll see. But
all right, bro, that's your squad. I'll let you roll with that.
But long story short,
the bottom line is it's happening.
Huh?
The bottom line is it's happening.
Well, we're gonna see. We're gonna see what's happening. What I'm getting from different people, Jerry Rice, and it was funny listening to
Nick Wright.
Nick Wright was saying that he rated Trey Lance above some other quarterbacks because of what Peter Schrager said about him. And Schrager says he has grown by leaps and bounds as their leader. And even Debo posted a practice video showing him throwing some dimes, deep dimes to Debo. That whole thing with Debo, I think, is also a military operation. I don't know if Debo is really going to be going anywhere. I'm wondering if they didn't tell Debo, go tell everybody you're discontented. Lead them down the wrong path. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be.
There's no wrong path to go down. He can't leave.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So what good? He already made his point. So why keep talking about it?
Because that's where first of all, it keeps your team in the news and it keeps them off track. It's like throwing some, when you really trying to get your scent and you throw some clothes over there and you're running that direction.
All right, okay.
Over there.
All right, if you say so. You're really taking this way too far. The bottom line is there's a lot more good things coming out about Trey Lance than there are bad things. But this arm fatigue thing, I think, could be real. However, arm fatigue with a quarterback has been proven in the past to be something that they can get over, regardless of what brings it on. So it's not that big a deal. However, if it turns out to be a chronic thing going into the season with the whole unsureness of what they're going to do with Garoppolo, that makes it a bigger deal than it normally would be. Okay? Personally, I don't think they want to keep Garoppolo there, but they're kind of afraid right now still. They want to go into the season with Trey Lance. They want Trey Lance to be able to take over. And it seems like he's already cool in the locker room. All the players love him. Okay, there's nothing wrong there. The bottom line is he going to hit the ground running? Because let's face it, I told you this last year, the 49ers are this close to winning the Super Bowl. They are contenders. If you want to name contenders, you have to throw their name in there. They're that close. talent-wise on that team. Okay. And if they don't get there, chances are it could be because of quarterback play. Now, if they know Garoppolo can win games for them and they're not 100% sold on Trey Lance, then there's a fear factor there. The only team that probably has the assets and really, really would want to go after Garoppolo is the Seahawks. But they're in the same division. You don't want to trade him in the same division, but there's going to come a point somewhere where they're going to have to make a decision. Garoppolo as your backup quarterback, that's not healthy for Trey Lance. There's a whole lot of issues here that have to be worked around, and only time will tell. There's a chance everything will fall into place as we go through camp, and there's a chance that everything will crash like a 10-car pileup. We don't know.
Well, as far as Garoppolo being a backup, and you saying that won't work, because of his injury, I think that he actually could be the backup because he wouldn't be not necessarily really ready come opening game anyway. But if he was ready, I said that I like the Aaron Rodgers model, where Trey gets a chance just to be a little more patient, and work, just make sure that he has everything,
So you want to keep Garoppolo?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I
still think
Garoppolo.
Huh?
You don't want to trade Garoppolo?
No, I don't. I want to see Trey get at least one more year. I really do. Whether he could come out and be the Superman right now, I don't know. But Garoppolo wins 70+% of his games. And many times I believe that, some of the things that last year, for example, he was playing injured. And I'm one of those guys that think if the starting quarterback injured, he has to really still be better than the backup. Okay, you could say Kirk Cousins, for example, with a thumb injury is still better than his backup, Sean Mannion. And that might be evident, but in some cases that might not be so evident. Probably in Carolina with the Panthers, one guy between Baker and what's the guy from the Jets that came down to the Panthers? Yeah. Between them, one guy gets hurt, he gets a bad thumb. They're like, bring the other guy in because they're the same guy, So
Baker played all season last year hurt.
Yeah, and which makes you wonder about how, like the backup, they don't think that the backup could have played better than a hurt Baker,
No.
Obviously they didn't. I don't know whether that was a smart decision or not. But long story short, Garoppolo, I'm with him for this year. I want him to see it. And again, if he starts, Garoppolo has an injury history, a high injury probability. So it's a good chance that Trey's going to get playing time, one way or the other. So I'm keeping Garoppolo. All right. Moving on up the ladder here. Wanted to say congratulations to Jamie Erdahl, the new host of Good Morning Football. She's going to start this coming Monday. Is it this coming Monday, July 25th, or whenever that Monday is? July 25th. She's going to be there. I know her name, and I know I've seen her do stuff, but I can't say I know her. Do you have any feelings on that?
I don't really know her. She looks familiar. I don't know if she spent time as a sideline reporter or if she's done some work with a particular team or if she's been featured on one of the shows that's on the network. I'm not sure. She looks familiar, though. I kind of like the young lady that's on there now. I watched it this morning because I don't always watch Good Morning Football. I'm a first things first guy. But
was that Rachel Bonetta?
Yes, I like her. I think she's great. And they've got Darius Butler is the resident ex-player. He's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, he's pretty good.
For a new guy that's taking this on as a new profession. He speaks very well and is extremely knowledgeable. Because they could have pulled any one of the old guys. You know what I mean? They could have put LT on there. They could have put Michael Bennett on there. They could have. They have a lot of guys to choose from, ex-player wise, but they didn't. They chose Darius Butler, gave him a chance. I think he's doing really well. Adam Rank is like the funny dude, and he's the fantasy expert. And then they got Tom Pelissero, who's kind of like an insider. So they filled all
those guys. Most of those guys are temporary. They're
yes,
not.
I understand that, but I'm saying I like them. They work very well together.
Yes, they do. They've been there.
You know, and I don't watch the show all the time.
Right.
But I watched them today, and they work very well together. So we'll have to see. Maybe Darius Butler will get to hang on, but I doubt if Adam Rank and Pelissero will hang on because they've got jobs. You know what I mean? They've got their own stuff.
Rachel Bonnetta used to be on the show where they had the 2 or 3 guys up there who were betting on games, and she was like the moderator or something for the show.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, right. The betting show.
Right, the betting show, and then she went to the fantasy show.
Yes.
Where they were all sitting around, but she's always comes with a sense of humor, you know, and that's kind of her thing, you know. And so yeah, she would. I could have seen her as the host. I wouldn't have had a problem with her as the host at all. Like you said, she's entertaining, you know, and she doesn't try to be an expert. A lot of times she'll be more of a fan, you know what I mean, in her picks. But you know, it's okay because you know she has a good idea about what she's talking about.
But she definitely knows. Well, you can't be on a wager show and not know the teams and not know the players.
Right. Exactly.
So,
or a fantasy show for that more than matter, right?
Fantasy show if you don't know the players.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But I did have a question, and I wondered if Good Morning Football had missed an opportunity to put a woman of color in there. That doesn't really happen often on that show. And so I just wondered if
it's ever happened even temporarily, not on that particular show.
I'm wondering who's the young sister that was on the fantasy show with Bonnetta. I can't think
All
of.
I can think of is Malika Andrews, and she's NBA.
She's NBA. No, it's not Malika. It's another young lady. She's very pretty.
I can kind of see her face, but I can't think of her.
Yeah, and so you know, she might have been an option. But yeah, I don't know of many others. It says here, just a quick look. She was Erdahl was an American reporter for CBS Sports. Was the lead sideline reporter for the SEC on CBS.
That's where I saw her.
And she covered the NCAA basketball, the NBA, and March Madness for CBS and Turner. So she's had some high-level jobs. So we'll see. Congratulations to her. I look forward to watching. We are both fans of the show, Ben and I, and we will definitely be tuned in to see what she brings to the show. She's filling big shoes, not literally, because Kay was a little teeny tiny thing, but filling Kay's shoes. Kay had big shoes to fill. All right. Well, Benny, that actually wraps it up for Ben and Barry on football. Thanks for following. Please leave comments and suggestions. Our hashtag is football is life if you're on any of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. These videos will go directly out to YouTube and our podcast on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple. All right, I got that all in, Benny. Woo.
Who knows?
You got that in? You want to repeat it one more time?
No.
Okay.